very danger. So the coming another type of inflation is hyperinflation. According to the Kagan has said that at the beginning in the month of the rise in the price excess that exceeds 50% and ending with the that month before monthly rise in the price drops below that amount and stay below the at least a year. So this corresponding to a 1300%, it refers to a situation, where the prices rise like, increasing manner. The paper currency becomes worthless during hyperinflation. Value becomes decrease, hyperinflation. Now, typically, the government, what we can say that the finance large budget deficit by printing money. When the price changes frequently, okay, it is hard to the customers to shop around for their, what we can say that for best prices. Highly volatile and, rapidly rising prices can alter behavior in many ways. So running inflation, galloping inflation, and hyperinflation are very danger for the economy. It is adversely impacting the economy because when the prices increases, purchasing power decreases. People are unable to purchase due to the money value comes down, decreases. So according to the factors which influence the money supply and the demand for goods and services, when we observe this, basically inflation occurs when the aggregate quantity of goods demanded at a particular price level that is rising more quickly than the quantity of goods supplied at that price level. What does it mean? Simply, we can say that, the demand is more, supply is less. Automatically, the price levels increases. So here, according to the, the money supply and the demand for goods and services, excessive inflation. What does it mean? Excessive inflation due to the price, due to the excess money supply in relation to the availability of real goods and services. That is excessive inflation. Cost inflation also there. When the prices rise due to the increase in the factors of production, it occurs when the money becomes or money income of factors that expand more than real production. Deficit inflation. So when government spends too much money on various investment projects or welfare schemes, then that leads to a deficit inflation. The production of consumption on goods that may be fail, that leads to increase the expenditure, right? So that is comes under the deficit inflation. So export boom inflation. And a country exporting more goods and services, it may be experience increased demand, and if the supply is short in domestic market, the demand for goods and services rapidly rise, resulting inflation in the domestic economy. The country is producing goods and services. That goods are not try to export. What about the domestic market? That is more important. There is a shortage of domestic goods. Then immediately they need to import goods, or due to no shortage of goods, automatically again the prices may increase. within the existing domestic country or in the market, right? Import price hike inflation. Imports also very problematic for any country. If a country, they are importing more goods from the, other countries, okay? So what will happen when they try to import more, we have to pay, the prices in terms of, foreign currency, right? So due to increase the, prices of import commodities, that leads to increase the abroad price of product in the domestic country, that results increase in the price level. What is inflation? Simply we can say that inflation is nothing but general price levels are increasing over a period of time, not 1 day or 2 day, not short period. Okay, it is, continuously. If the prices are increasing continuously, we say that no, that is inflation. So credit inflation also there. It rises due to excessive bank credit to the money supply in the economy, that leads to inflation. These are the other factors which influence the money supply and the goods and services. So here, under criteria of time, also inflation may occur. Maybe it may be post-war or pre-war or war time. In this situation, when it is war going on, the prices are rise due to the war. This will occur to war expenditure and the diversion of goods and services for military consumption from civilization consumption. That is the reason why it is increasing. Now, government, they try to divert the money from the goods and services to military consumption purpose. Then that creates the shortage of the goods. Automatically, when there is a shortage of goods and services, demand will be high. When there is a huge demand, prices may go up. So due to war, inflation is increasing. The another one is post-war inflation. So this is also one of the cause, because after immediately after the war, the prices rise due to increase in the disposal income of the community. As a result, withdrawal of war taxes due to repayment of public debt. This is also one of the cause for inflation. Peacetime inflation also there. It occurs, the normal time period due to increased government outlays. It is nothing but expenditure, particularly on capital projects in the long run. So that leads to increase the inflation. On the basis of, coverage or scope of view, here, comprehensive inflation, sporadic inflation is there. When we are talking about comprehensive inflation, it means increase the price over a commodity throughout the economy. Increasing the price of a commodity, every commodity's price is increasing over the period of time. That comes under the comprehensive inflation. Coming to the sporadic inflation, it means rise the prices of a specific goods due to fall in supply of those goods. That is, sporadic inflation. Comprehensive inflation, that leads to the prices are increasing over a period of time of all the commodities. It is comprehensive. Coming to the sporadic inflation, only specific commodities. Which commodities? Whose supply of goods, whose supply is less, or supply is there is a shortage of supply, which commodities supply is very less, that we can say that sporadic inflation. So according to the government reaction, when this inflation occurs again, due to no prevalence of inflation, inflation is open, represent inflation and profit inflation. According to the government reactions, inflation is open. What does it mean? So when the prices rises without any interruption, prices are increasing without any interruption. That situation, there is a free market without any restrictions that allow to play its own role. That is the reason why it is increasing. So government do not attempt to control the inflation. That is, inflation is open. What does it mean? When the prices are increasing in the open market, okay, government do not interfere. There is no restrictions from the government side, okay, particularly on this inflation. Represent inflation, the government proposes controls. They try to reduce with various measures, okay, and profit inflation. According to J.M. Keynes, he considered that a unique category of inflation. What does it mean? The price rises due to excess investment over savings in the economy. Prices are increasing due to excess investment than the savings. That is no profit inflation. So what are the indicators or the measures of inflation? Generally, as we know that uh, we used to observe in newspapers, there are different, price indices and GDP deflator, as we know that, called as, inflation. Consumer price index, CPI, and wholesale price index, WPI, and producer price index, PPI. These, measures different inflation, measures of or indicators of inflation. So when we are talking about the consumer price index, CPI, CPI means consumer consumer price index. It is the measure of average change over a time in the price paid with, with the help of consumer goods and services comes under the consumer price index, measuring with the help of CPI. So wholesale price index, what is WPI, which measures the average changes in the prices of commodities for a bulk sale at a early stage of the transactions. That is, wholesale price index. WPI in India is published by, official economic advisor, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. They release related to the inflation wholesale price index. While considering or calculating this wholesale price index, they try to, add some commodities, various commodities. Based on that, they calculate the primary level. In this WPI, they include, primary articles, fuel, power, manufacturing goods. Okay, This comes under, the commodities comes under the wholesale price index and a general inflation measured in terms of WPI. Coming to the producer price index, the measure of average changes in input and output prices from domestic producers' perspective. Producer price index. It is based on the factors of production, prices particularly from the domestic producers' perspective. GDP deflator, we also call it as simply it is inflation, measures the price of output that relative to the price at a particular base year. It reflects what happening in the overall level of price levels in the economy. Okay, GDP deflator, it is based on the fixed baskets and services of every year. GDP deflator is calculating that is a proxy for the inflation. Okay, when we are going to analyze. Coming to the types and effects of inflation, again, there are two types of inflation as Robert Gordon. There are mainly three kinds of inflation from his point of view. One is, demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, and built-in inflation. Coming to the demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation. The word itself, showing something. So many economists, has said that according to them, okay, inflation take place because of greater demand shocks. Demand full inflation, we are talking greater inflation shocks in the economy. Demand for goods and services increases rapidly because maybe there may be pressure on socio-political or financial or economic conditions. Due to these pressures, the prices of goods and services increases. Okay, so demand pull inflation is an inflation that results from the initial increase in the aggregate demand of goods and services. Okay, so the demand pull inflation also caused by increase the government and private spending that reflecting the hike that leads to increase the aggregate demand. Simply don't be confused. What is demand pull inflation? There is a huge demand for goods and services in the economy. When there is a huge demand, obviously increase the general price levels. So according to economist, moderate demand or demandful inflation is good for the economy as it accelerates the economic growth by enhancing economic activities. So that is related to demand pull inflation. Coming to the cost push inflation or supply shocks inflation. Cost push or supply shocks inflation. Again, here when we observe cost push inflation, it is another kind of inflation that is also called as supply shock inflation. This kind of inflation take place in the economy when there is the aggregate supply declines. The aggregate supply declines drastically, then that leads to cost push inflation. What does it mean? Because of the increase in the prices of factors of production, due to prices of factors of production. That is the reason why the supply is very less. The producers, they have to pay more money to the factors of production, so that they try to, it is impacting on the supply side. Supply is very less, so that leads to supply shock inflation. So it is mainly caused by increasing in the wages as an increase in the profit margin. So that is the reason why cost push inflation is increase in the economy. When we observe the increase in the cost of production, particularly the producers to hike the prices of product, okay, in order to survive in the market. So the trends of the prices, particularly when we observe in internationally, the commodities prices that affect in the changes directly or indirectly on taxes, that leads to increase the prices again. So that is related to cost push inflation or supply shock inflation. Coming to the built inflation or anticipated inflation. Built inflation, generally it reflected hangover inflation. It involves workers, they try to keep their wages up with prices, then the employees are passing higher cost on the consumers, so that the prices are increasing. Vicious circle that leads to create. So built-in inflation is a persistence of inflation in the current period that was originated in the past periods. It continues to prevail, the what we can say, current period that leads to economic conditions in the past periods. As we have seen different types of inflation, demand pull inflation, cost pull inflation, and guilt inflation. Now, the effects of inflation. What are the effects? What are the effects from the inflation? Who is going to be benefit? Who is going to be, worse off or better off? When we, look into the here, the effects of inflation, the effects on producers. One of the important effects on producers. No, a little hike in the price level that assets optimistic aptitude among the business community that leads to affecting on producers. So here the inflation take and a hyperinflation, it causes for the destructive effect on the producers, that aggregate demand for the products automatically comes down when the price increase. Okay. So the producers, they try to seek the profit by manipulating market rather than going a smooth manner or efficient manner. So it is impacting on the producers. The another one is debtors or creditors. The debtors borrow from the creditors, as we know that during this their needy time, whenever they require. Okay. And they repay the loans for the future date, a specific period of time with some interest rate, as we know that. So due to increased inflation, they pay lesser amount in real terms to the creditors, because earlier it was very less. When it is inflation, the real money that decreases. So here the debitor will get benefit than the creditors when there is a inflation in the economy. Farmers, coming to the farmers generally they get profit during the inflation time. Farmers are getting benefit during the inflation because they receive higher sales revenue due to increasing their price level. So when the price level increases, their products value also increase, prices also increase due to increase in the inflation. But the cost of production generally, no interest and taxes remain constant. They do not no rise much. That no. So the farmers are also looked as a debtor and the government as creditors. When there is a inflation in the economy, debtors are getting benefit from the comparing to the creditors. At the same time, farmers are getting benefit when we are coming comparing to the government. Okay. So when inflation takes place, they pay less to the government for land revenue. Hence, the farmers gain during the inflationary situations. Inflationary situations. So the another the effect middle class and salaries person. Middle class and salaries persons. The middle class and salaries persons know both they know what suffer from this inflation situation because as the source of income is limited and run their households with fixed amount of income because they are getting salary, okay, or the middle class people also suffering. So the high price that worsen their affordability due to increased prices that affecting on the salaries people. So some of the lower middle class they cannot fulfill their basic needs also sometimes because the prices are high. So during the inflation they are unable to purchase the uh, basic requirements. So middle class at the same time salaries person are getting problems are suffering. Coming to the the government, as we know that democratic as well as government that incur higher cost during the inflationary pressures, and the government try to spend more on budgetary actions for price stability. They try to the government try to control the inflation so that they spend more money, particularly for stabilizing the economy. So it spends on projects that works the team members to check access to the inflationary pressure. If the inflation is demandful, then it raises the taxes rate to stop a higher aggregate demand. They try to impose the taxes. So from the public, government is collecting the money through the taxes. Directly or indirectly, we are reducing the demand for that particular product. So automatically prices may comes down. So the another effect, wage earners. Another effect is wage earners. The wage earners, this also negatively affect uh, that suffers from the hyperinflation because the wage rate rises when the inflation take place. It does not go the same direction. When inflation increases, no, their wage rate increasing. Okay, so here the wage rate sometimes does not rise as much as increase the inflationary rate. So what will happen in that situation? It cannot meet their day-to-day no cost of living. It is also no agreed that there exists the time between rising inflation and rising wage rate. That is also one of the effects of inflation. Coming to the uh, causes for inflation in India, what are the causes? Basically, when we observe the causes, it is classified based on monetary and non-monetary factors. Okay. So here, among the monetary factors, we consider, over expansion of money supply, expansion of bank credit, or deficit financing. They try to increase the public expenditure or government expenditure. Now, huge investment on particularly infrastructure and the other projects, black money. These are monetary factors. Coming to the non-monetary factors are important factors: population growth, national calamities, hoarding and speculative activities, industrial import content, and this all are comes under the non-monetary factors. So, what are the measures to control this inflation? This is very important. So here they try to control the demand. There is through the monetary measures and physical measures. So here there are physical measures are there to control inflation and monetary measures also there. So when we are talking about the monetary measures, okay, monetary related to the banks, okay. So there there are some measures are there that maybe bank rate, open market operations, variable reserve ratio. So this all comes under the monetary measures. So bank rate. Generally, bank rate is nothing but interest rate. It is charged by changed by the central bank, that is RBI, when they took loans, okay, from the commercial banks. At the time of inflation, it raises the bank rate, which simultaneously leads to increase the interest rate, which is changed by the commercial banks on their loan to businessmen. So what will happen? They try to, they already taken that loan. They try to, repay that amount, and also the new loans also they can restrict. So what will happen? The monetary circumstances, monetary circulation, it comes down, and the demand for goods falls, prices they tries to control. The another one, open market operations, means that the central bank, purchasing and selling bonds at any time of inflation. The central bank, they prefer to sell their bonds, okay, so that excess money is available with the publics goes to central bank. So when there is a inflation, government tries to receive money from the public with the help of selling their central bank's bonds. When they sell to the public, they purchase okay they are reducing with the help of these measures. Okay. So automatically the money from the public is going to the central bank, right? So that is also open market operations. Variable reserve ratio. Generally, the ratio that commercial banks they keep out of their deposits in central banks during the inflation, central banks they try to increase this ratio. Okay, so automatically the loans, the giving loans particularly by the commercial banks is restricted, and the money circulation fall, demand also falls, prices comes down. Demonetization also one of the factor. Demonetization of the currency, you know, when it is higher demonetization, such as the measures that they try to adapt when there is a abundance of black money in the country, they try to, but the measures that reflecting that inability of the government to control inflation, this is the governments they will not take frequently. We have to observe that the extreme monetary measures, the issue of new currency in place of old currency. Under this system, one new note is exchanged for the number of notes of the old currency. So that is also 1 minute. Right. So these are the monetary measures. Coming to the fiscal measures also there. Government they try to take the physical measures to control the inflation. So through the principal physical measures with the help of taxes, with the help of reduction in the public expenditure, government cutting down the personal consumption of expenditure and promoting savings, avoiding the deficit financing. These are the physical measures. So taxes, personal income tax, estate duty, gift taxes, which all are, as we know that direct taxes in nature, they try to reduce the disposable income in the public. So then the demand for goods automatically falls, the price also comes down. Disposable income is nothing but actual income from the public. When the government impose the taxes more or the tax rate increases, public have to pay more money. Okay, directly or indirectly, government is collecting money from the public, then automatically, that impacting on the goods demand. Okay, so demand will decrease, prices also comes down. Reduction in the public expenditure. Reduction in the public expenditure. Again, that restricting the flow of income to the public at low level of income, particularly the demand for goods is very low and the prices may be continuously low. So reduction in public expenditure also physical measure. Coming to the domestic personal consumption. This can be uh, cut down by the improving heavy indirect taxes like excise, sales taxes. These taxes, particularly when they impose that discourage the unnecessary consumption and a demand for goods. Okay, so this connection, we can say that the necessary wherever it is necessary that can increase in the taxes that should not be very high, so that they can discourage the savings. They can discourage the savings and investment and production. So promoting the savings, they try to through the physical measures, okay, promoting the savings. Savings in the public may be, prompted by a proper incentive for the savings in a personal income tax, corporate tax. If it is necessary, then the government they adapt to the fiscal policy, some kind of measures, savings like compulsory deposit schemes, etc. So when they try to increase the interest rate, banks, public they try to keep their money in the banks because they feel they get return, that is with the help of interest rate they'll get more money from their savings. So when they increase interest rate, okay, then automatically people ready to save in the banks. Okay, so they're not able to purchase the goods. They are unwilling because then that situation there is no demand for that particular commodities. When there is no demand for the goods, then automatically producers they try to decrease their prices. So directly or indirectly, prices are comes down. Okay, when they encourage the savings. Okay, through the physical measures. Then there are no other important concepts related to the inflation when we observe inflationary gaps, Phillips curve, okay, stagflation, deflation, and inflation. What is inflationary gap? There are no, when we observe this, it is an important concept which explained by the J.M. Keynes. This inflationary gap was explained by J.M. Keynes. How to pay for the war in 1940. He emphasized, he explained. Keynes has defined the inflationary gaps simply excess public expenditure over the availability of output at a pre-inflation or base prices. What does it mean? Inflation occurs mainly because of excess expenditure over income at the full employment level. Okay, so larger the aggregate expenditure, larger the gap, more rapid increase in the prices that leads to increase the inflation. So the inflationary gap, which is used by James Keynes, particularly to show the main determinants are the causes that rise the general price level is inflationary gap. Phillips curve, this techniques used by A.W. Phillips to explain the relationship between rate of unemployment and rate of money wages. Based on the empirical work, he has collected some information from the United Kingdom and observed that. So according to him, there is the inverse relationship between, okay, according to uh, Phillips, there is an inverse relationship between these two, unemployment rate and low rate of increasing the money wage. When the increase money wage, unemployment increases, employment decreases. Okay, here related to the Phillips curve. Coming to the stagflation is a situation, where the economy experiences stagflation or stagnation or unemployment along with high rate of inflation. Otherwise, we call it as inflationary recession. This concept, this stagflation, kind by combination of the stag and plus. Stag plus inflation, it is the cause of inflation, particularly restriction in the aggregate supply. Restricting the aggregate supply when there is a stagflation. So when aggregate supply is reduced, there is a fall in output automatically. Supply is decreasing means what? Total output also comes down, restricted. So by the labor supply, automatical labor supply also. The restriction in the labor supply, what will happen? There is a rise in money wages in the economy or in the account. So they try to decrease the labor. When they reduce the labor, they try to rise the money wage. When money wage increase, labors comes down. So when the wage rise, the firms are forced to reduce the production and employment. They don't want to keep the employees more. When the wage rise, wage price increases more, they are being less. That is when wage they forced to reduce the production at the same time employment. So consequently, what will happen? Fall in real money and consumer expenditure will fall. So there is decline in the consumption also. That is